standing and talking.
Okay, so this section, managing your site, we're going to focus on the financial reporting requirements and on AmeriCorps for how to approve member hours and how to enter your own site supervisor hours. So turn to the managing your site section. It's the last blue page. And the first page of that section, flag it. That is your checklist. That's telling you for financial reporting, this is everything that you need to submit and when. All elements of your financial and your members' programmatic reporting, everything is always due on the 10th. There is 1 month this fall, like I said, where the 10th is on a Saturday or a Sunday, so you'll get reminders that month, just reminding you like, okay, you got to send it in on the 9th by Friday. So why does it have to be the 10th? That gives me, including weekend time, and there's almost always a weekend in there, that gives me 5 days to compile everything, turn it around, and submit it to the Community Service Commission for reimbursement. If I don't have it in by the 15th, we don't get a check then. I have their like check cutting schedule down. So I'm trying to give you as much time as possible because again, I know life happens. But if you have your stuff to me by the 10th, I promise you I will have it turned in by the 15th. If it comes to me after the 10th, I will do my darndest, but I can't promise you that it'll be in that pile for the 15th. You'll still get reimbursed. It'll just be in next month's reimbursement just because I don't want to wait the whole group and potentially miss 6 sites reimbursements because the 7th site came in late. So that's just kind of the way that the calendar works for this. Now, member time is a part of what has to be in there. And again, you have to have it approved by the 10th. So you need to talk to your member. And if you want your member to have it in by the 5th so that gives you 5 days to approve it, that's something, when you're setting up and doing your member service plan, they're going to know that you have to have it approved by the 10th. I'm going to tell them in the meeting, but if you have in our training with the members, but if you have a specific date you want, tell that specifically to your member. I have had site supervisors this last year, I'm just like, your stuff's not in, and they're like, oh, I'm waiting on my member to put in their hours. And I'm just like, well, who's in charge here? Who's the supervisor? You or your members? They need to get their hours in. So you have to have it approved so that I can see it. That part, and then also your site supervisor time has to be entered into AmeriCorps. And I pulled up the website, so I'll show you a couple different things here in AmeriCorps. Oh, well, I had the website pulled up. So you won't have to change this year. Here, let me click off. So they've already set the default, and there are detailed instructions in there, just like there was a detailed step-by-step of how your members log into AmeriCorps. I'm going to show you how you do it step-by-step, but there's a list for you in how to log in and enter your site supervisor hours, and there's also instructions on how to go in and approve your member hours, again, just step-by-step. But I'll walk you through it here so you can see it. We'll touch on all different types of learning. So the year automatically populates for you guys, 2015, 2016. Now my 2 returning sites, if you're still wrapping up stuff from the end of the year, you need to go in and toggle down to 2014, 2015. But for this year, it will automatically be this. You just click submit. Oh, I was about to say, it's not showing up behind me, is it? Well, project to a second screen, duplicate. Now is it up there? Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to back out again. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, this little area right here. It'll automatically be 2015, 2016. You just click submit, and then you scroll down. The Oklahoma Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs AmeriCorps program. It's the longest name. You really can't miss it. You're going to log in as a site supervisor. Program director is me, and Leonard, I'll give you access to program director. Site supervisor is you. Your AmeriCorps member logs in there. So let's log in as a site supervisor. my password won't work, but like I said, I know Treasure's password, so we're gonna borrow hers for a second. So when you first log in, it's the first letter of your first name and your last name. That's also what your password's gonna be when I set you up, and then it will give you the option to change your password.
It's right here.
Let's try this again. It logged in just a second ago. Am I spelling Treasure's name? Or is she logged in on the other side? It's okay, well, that's awesome. Remember how I said this website was a little bit unreliable? Oh, okay. That's why it's not letting me on, because I haven't added Treasure to this year. So when you come to this login page, there are resources here. There's Community Service Commission, NSOPW. So if you wanted to run an NSOPW on one of your members, I have never used one of those links, but they're there if you want them. Okay. Now, magic. Listen. First letter of your first name, your last name, and that's what your password will be too. Okay, it's actually logging in. It's just taking a second. And then it'll prompt you to change your password. If you ever forget your password, as a program director, I can go behind and reset it. I'll probably make it like Megan Test or something like that, and then you can go in and change it again. But if you forget, don't worry about it. Nothing in AmeriCorps is forever. You kind of want it to be. So this front page of AmeriCorps gives you this little button right here. Gives you the opportunity. You can select what you want to see when you log in. So I will set you up with unlocked timesheets, and I would probably take that one up. That's probably all you'll see is when you log into this. I'll set it up where if a member has submitted a timesheet that you need to approve, it'll show on this page. AmeriCorps will also send you, like when your member submits their timesheet for your approval, AmeriCorps will send you an email to whatever email address you have set up in this. I'll set it up with the work email address that I have for each of you, but if you want it to be something different, you can go in and change that. So for time tracking, member service hours, approve member timesheets. And that's all that takes you to, if there are any to be approved, you can select a period. I don't know if Michelle has any in here. Or you can select by the AmeriCorps member. But here, let's see. I don't know that there are any in here. There are any in here to approve, but this is how you go in and it shows it to you, and then you click on approve at the bottom. To enter supervisor in-kind hours, again, time tracking is really the only one you need to worry about. Supervisor in-kind hours, enter supervisor in-kind hours. Let's look at, okay, so select a period. What do you want to enter for? I'm choosing August just so we have an example of one. So this is what you'll see. There are two things you need to know. At the top of every one, it doesn't carry this from month to month, you need to enter your fully loaded hourly wage. So this is your salary plus the cost of your benefits, and then we're going to divide it by imaginary what other people, not Boys and Girls Club people, work. So 50 week divided by 50 weeks out of the year, divided by 40, a 40-hour week, which I know none of us really work. And then that gives you your fully loaded hourly wage. and you're gonna enter the number of hours that you put towards them. Like today, you're in training from 10 to 3. You include your drive time. If you are meeting with your member, if you are observing your member, if you're the person who is supervising your member, who is actually like in their physical presence, count those hours. Do you guys remember that Tom Cruise movie, The Firm? And I think it's Gene Hackman, and he's like, bill for it. If you're thinking about the client, bill it. If you're sitting on the back, if you're going to the restroom and you're thinking about the case, bill for that time. That's the attitude I want you to have with this. If you are making phone calls about AmeriCorps, sending me emails about AmeriCorps, talking to your member, doing paperwork, supervising your member, enter it in here. You have to log 16 hours a month. For the whole month, it needs to be at least 16. Why? Because this is how we make our cash match for this grant. Most of our cash match is site supervisor time. So what it does, and when I do the financial reporting, it's however many hours you spent times your fully loaded hourly wage. I get to count that as cash match. So that's why it's imperative that we get at least 16 hours from every site supervisor, because that we have to make our percentage of match. The blank space next to it, you need to enter a description of what you did for that time. And I don't care if it's one word, just you can be like email, member meeting, supervising, incentive program. Today would be like training. Like that's all you need to say, but there has to be something. If you're claiming hours, you have to put some sort of little description, talking to Megans. That works. At the bottom, you attest that it is accurate and that your time is verifiable and documented at your agency. So if you're on a week's worth of vacation, make sure you're not claiming time on that week. And then if you save it, it just saves it in the system so you can come back to it later and continue to add to it. If you're a person who likes to do your time at the end of every week, you can do it that way. If you're like, treasurer writes everything in on her desk calendar, and at the end of the month, she goes back and enters that in. So that's saving it, doesn't send it anywhere, it just saves it so what you entered is there when you come back the next time. When you hit authorize submit, it comes to me. At that point, you can't go back into this sheet. You can see a report of it, but you can't go back in and make any changes. It comes to me, I can see it, and I do the same thing to your time that you do to your AmeriCorps members' time. I'm gonna look through there if you forgot to enter your fully loaded hourly wage or forgot to put your little descriptions, or didn't hit 16 hours, I'm gonna say, I do not approve. I'm gonna write you a little note in the box saying, please enter descriptions of how you spent your time, and then I'm going to unlock it. At that point, you can get back in, change what you need to change, authorize and submit, it comes back to me. And then hopefully I approve it. But that's what your page looks like for site supervisor hours. And when AmeriCorps works, it's really easy. If AmeriCorps is ever not working, I just need you to call me. If you're like Megan, and this has happened before actually with the treasurer, she's like, I did 19 hours, it was on this day. I was like, okay, I've got it, and I can backdoor enter it if it's not working. So don't, AmeriCorps can be a pain, but it can always be fixed. So don't freak out, just give me a call. Too far. Member time, just to make sure that I covered everything. Yep. Enter your fully loaded hourly wage. You have to do at least 16 hours a month. Your AmeriCorps timesheet, listen. Username and password, first initial, last name. You'll update your password. You approve their timesheets. You submit the in-kind timesheets. And again, step-by-step instructions are in your binder on that one. Now, your members are ultimately responsible for ensuring that they complete their service hour requirement. You can't make any, I'm sure you've all realized this in other supervisory positions, you can't make somebody come to work. You can really, really hope that they do, and you can schedule them, and you can plan with them, but ultimately, it's the member's responsibility. However, as the site supervisor, like I said, you're approving their timesheet, you're watching their comings and goings, so you're the second set of eyes to make sure that they're on track, and AmeriCorps can help you do this. I can show you like how many hours they've completed so far. It can show you how many hours you're turning in every month. And an important thing to know is that if an AmeriCorps member fails to complete their hours, they're not eligible for that education award. It's all or nothing with that education award. And something that I only ran into it with one member this year. I had one member that had a compelling personal circumstance that I'd known about for a while, but I had another member that they had not informed me that her daughter had had surgery and that she had to be off work for 2 weeks to stay home with her little infant. So I logged into AmeriCorps and it looked like she was way off target to meet her service hour requirements. If your member gets to a point that they can't hit that 900, that they can't hit that 675, that it's just not mathematically possible, and the number of, and I will do everything I can to find every loophole, every extra amount of, every extra bit of time that we can push it. But if they're off track, they can't just skate the rest of the program and keep receiving that stipend. So if they just decide that, well, you know what, I'm really dedicated to a year of service except for this 3-week trip to Cancun that I want to take, where I'm going to miss logging, 80 hours. But that's okay, I don't really need the education award, but this is kind of treating this like a job, it's my stipend. If they're not on target to get their hours, they risk being exited from the program. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go in and go, exit, and drop them through a trap door. I'm going to call you and we're going to talk about it. But that's something that, that you need to let your members know. Like when you're setting up their service time, they can't cut you short, 4 hours every week for 8 months and then be like, I'll just make it all up at the end of the year. If I don't, if they're not on track, they risk being exited from the program. So this is pretty serious. We went over fully loaded hourly wage. Okay. The next thing, so that's what you do on AmeriCorps. Approve their time, enter your site supervisor time. Let's look at the host site expense spreadsheet. This is the new part. This is the new way of us moving funds around for returning folks. So each month in your remind.com, it will automatically, when it sends you a reminder about this report, I can actually attach the file, so it can send this to you. So I have my little disclaimer in the top. This will come to you as an Excel spreadsheet. These fields that are light gray on the spreadsheet will be yellow. So only enter dollar amounts in the yellow fields. For each AmeriCorps member at your site, enter the amount of member living allowance. The other cells will automatically populate with the correct amount. So this is like your DHS and DMH. You only got to enter in the yellow part. Everything else calculates across for you. Yay! See, it's really helpful to have a geek around, isn't it? Isn't it?
Go ahead, Trail. I appreciate it.
If you have receipts for background checks or member travel, enter amounts in those fields and attach the scanned copies of the receipts to your email. Member travel and background checks are not reimbursable. This amount is applied to the required grant match, and host sites are responsible for paying these amounts, and reporting them is required. So when you, like Melissa's going to give me a credit card authorization for all of her background checks today. Once that hits the credit card, you can print out a report from that credit card, and attach that, and I get to count that as match. So that's background checks. Member travel, this is not associated with mandatory trainings. The member orientation and our 2 trainings, I'll collect their mileage. They'll sign in just like you guys did and put their round trip miles. This is if you are sending them to, you know, Rotary, Kiwanis, and all staff training in Tulsa, something that you want them to learn more about BGCA, like something that they're not coming to me, you can go ahead and have them log that time. Whether you reimburse them or not, I can still count that because somebody's paying for it. It's the member who's paying for it, but that's where you would log. That's where you would log those two things. Okay, back up to the top because this is the part that you're all dying to hear. So member name. Larry's, yours will be bigger because you'll have room for 6 members. So go ahead and I just have them as 1, 2, 3, but you'll want to enter your members' names right there. And then the first one is member living allowance. Is anybody here paying over $720 a month? Doing above the minute. Okay. So then that should be the gross amount paid, $720. FICA is FICA and Medicare, workers' comp, whatever you pay per member for workers' comp. And again, you know, if you don't want to report this, if it's an amount that's not worth the hassle to you, then fine. I'm just letting you know everything I can reimburse you for. And then unemployment. This is FUTA and SUTA, federal and state unemployment tax. Go in here. What it's going to calculate out, it's going to amount eligible for reimbursement is going to be 70% of these. The amount applied to your match is your total amount minus the 70%. So if you look at that and you're like, that's not exactly 30%, Megan. It's because it's just subtracting so we don't end up with like a half a penny here or there. You're going to do that for each of your members. And at the bottom, oh, sorry, no, it stays on this one. It's going to total up your amount eligible for reimbursement and the amount applied to the grant match. Any questions about this document? I tried to make it as straightforward as possible. Okay. So we'll talk about the supporting document, but what I want to let you know, so this is your amount that's eligible for reimbursement. To cover the program costs that I don't get, how do I want to say this? The program cost that the Alliance pays after this is where that $126 per member per month comes out. And I'm going to take a break for just a second, and yours is going to be different, Larry, because the way that yours is set up. So whatever this amount is, minus the, you know, however many members you have times 126, that's what's going to come. That's what's going to come back to you. Your members are all going to get their paychecks through the college. What I need from you is to make sure that those kids bring you those pay stubs. I just have to prove that they're getting paid for you guys. So handy dandy scanner, you just run it through that scanner and email it to me.
So they'll pay from the college?
Yeah, because that's where their work study comes from. So if they get paid bi-weekly, then every 2 weeks, they get it monthly. Oh, that makes our lives even easier. Okay, so they don't have to bring you the real check. They can just bring you that stub from the check.
They don't get a check, it's deposit, it's direct deposit straight into their college. It goes straight into their college.
Can they print off something online that
Let me
shows
talk,
that?
I'll talk to Tony.
Talk to Tony, tell him, I just need to prove
Prove that they're getting an income.
yes, to the community
I'm sure we
service
can get
commission that I'm
something.
not working these kids
Right.
for free, because I've told them that they're getting work study.
No, they go straight into their college
Okay.
account.
Okay. Okay. Now, of course, since this is AmeriCorps, we can't just take your word for it that you're paying these people. Because that would be intrusive. So, if you flip past that, we are not limited to these documents. I'm going to click forward. Like I said, this spreadsheet will come to you each month through mine.com. Okay, we're not limited to these, but this is what mine looked like when I did my payroll through Hale & Company. So those were the example documents that I had to send. But I need to see their gross monthly pay, and it can be in, you know, their check, you know, this is my like check report. Each one of my members that I paid had a check report. I think this is actually Josh's, and I just marked his name out. But it said, you know, their amount that you paid them. Tax withholdings don't factor in for me. I need for what they withheld on the member side. I just need something that shows that. Or if you have more than one member and you can send me a payroll journal that shows that too for multiple members on one sheet, that's great. I need to see the employer and company expenses. So if you send me this, it just shows like a pay stub like this, it just shows me the FICA expenses for the member and the withholdings for the member. I need to see your company expenses, which is what I reported on this one. The payroll journal that Sherry pulls for me, for each member, it shows their FICA, Social Security, FICA, Medicare, FUTA, and SUTA all in one spot. I have to see some sort of report that shows me that. I don't know what do you guys, do people use ADP? Do you use QuickBooks? Do you have Oh, fabulous. So your bookkeeper, you can just give her this.
I'll give her a call.
Yeah, and you can tell her to give me a call, and I can be like, these are the things I need to see. Please put it all on one sheet, make all of our lives easy. And then for workers' comp, and this year was the first year that I had to deal with workers' comp. But what CompSource sent me, I had a bill every month. If you want to send me a copy of your bill and write in at the top how many total employees you have, I'll divide that number by the total employees, and that can be what you pay for workers' comp. The commission didn't have any other like better way to suggest for me to do this, so you can do it that way too. But those are the things that when I'm looking at your report, and again, that's why you need to get it in on the 10th, because if something's like, oh, especially this first few months where it's like, no, this shows me FICA and FUTA and SUTA, but you entered something for workers' comp and it didn't come through, or I can't read this. We want to have a little bit of cushion time to make sure that we get all of our ducks in a row so that we don't, it's not much cushion time, but to make sure that we don't miss that deadline. And again, all of this is detailed in the spreadsheet, so there's a place to enter for each of those, and that page that you flagged at the beginning section tells you all of this again too. Any questions about this? Hearing none, we will move forward. And instead of asking my secret question at the end, because now people are expecting a secret question at the end of the video, so they might be tempted just to fast forward, you need to email me, and in the subject line, I want you to say, my favorite 80s song. My personal favorite 80s song is really a tie between Footloose, Kenny Loggins, and the Eurythmics, kind of anything by the Eurythmics. So send me that in a subject line, that I don't know what my favorite 80s song is, and that way I'll know you're actually watching the video and paying attention. Okay, now on to site visit evaluations and site monitoring, and you're all going to Eurythmics. Megan, are you really that old? But yeah, I am. Great. Analytics. Okay, site visit evaluations and site monitoring. Okay. The site visit monitoring tool, the things to know about it, there's a section for meeting with the site supervisor, where either myself or Leonard will come in and we'll sit with just you. We'll go through this with you. This is, some of it's, just like, is your sign up? We'll have made notes, like I'll have been noting in there, like if reports are late or things like that, just wanting to touch base. And again, the purpose is not to catch anybody out. The purpose is to make sure that we're keeping everything flowing smoothly. And sometimes you don't know you need help with something until you're in the situation, or you don't know, you think you're doing it right, but this is a lot to learn in one 5-hour session. So we'll go through those things, and then there will be a space where we meet with just the member. This has been updated from last year, so returning site supervisors really, give it a look through. We started out with forms that were from Oak Serves and Red River Community Corps. That's what we used last year, and like this year I've been trying to go through and really tailor everything to be like, what are we really looking for? What were the issues that we need to be on top of from this year? So if compliance equals smooth flow of money, these are the checkups that make sure we're all on track. Your first set of site visits will be October 19th through the 23rd. We'll probably start on one side of the state and work our way east. So plan on being around that time. We'll nail down precise times way ahead of time. So again, I'm not trying to surprise anybody. The site visit monitoring tool, I said, we'll talk through that while you're there. We will also, after that's wrapped up, you'll get a host site evaluation from me. It looks, it's past that, it's past the site visit monitoring tool. It looks a lot like the member evaluation. But again, this is just to make sure that we're both on the same page. I'll fill it out and sign it and send it to you. You need to read it and sign it and send me a copy back. Just showing, again, we're showing that we have had clear communication, and that one will be due back by the 31st. So we'll do site visits the next week. I'll do the evaluations and get those sent out, and then you will send them back to me. Take a quick look at the site visit monitoring tool, and let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm gonna read over Leonard's shoulder this time because Larry's probably got like itches for me. I'll ask about prohibited activities while I'm there. What other things you would like your member to be trained on. There's also the bottom of the first section. Are there any issues of concern that the site supervisor feels the alliance director should address with the member? The members, I'll have a chance to talk with the members on their own. I'll have a chance to talk with you guys on your own. Leonard and I can help bridge gaps and be go-betweens, and if there are issues you've been having that you either aren't comfortable resolving, or think it's a training issue, or just you feel like I have this understanding of AmeriCorps, my member has this understanding of AmeriCorps. How do we get on the same page? Like, I'm not gonna rat, I'm assuming Leonard won't either. We're not going to rat you out to each other and go to the member and be like, oh, your site supervisor hates you. He thinks you smell like cheese, and yeah, he's gonna give you bathroom duty for the next 10 days. And conversely, we're not gonna come to you and be like, your member says that all you ask them to do is prohibited activities. They're not sure you really passed your background. We will handle things in a confidential and professional manner. So, really, if there's something that you want us to step in and help with and help have a conversation, don't hesitate to ask. And then, so there's the member section that we'll talk to them. And then the following documents that we'll look at, we are going to look at hard copies of the member timesheets. We're going to want to see that you're keeping hard copies. We're going to look in the member file box.
You have to have hard copies?
Yeah, so if you keep time, and it can be...
Do it on computer.
Okay, so do it, you have a timesheet program in your... Yeah, you can print me out a report from that. You can, it does, because some sites still keep the punch cards.
Right.
Which are...
We talked about going to that, but we can't because of our grants.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and if it's in a computer, that'll be fine. I'll just,
Okay.
As me or Leonard will just say, if we're there in, when I say we're there in October, we'll say, can you print out September time for us and just show that Encore isn't the only way that we're tracking member time.
Okay.
Because again, Encore does what Encore wants to do. So we need to have, Melissa's going, we need to have backups of that. And the same thing with site supervisors. Obviously I don't want to see your time cards, but like I said, what Treasure does, and it can be as simple as this, is she writes on her calendar the days that she meets with her members. She's like, met with member 2 to 3, met, you know, and it's just kept in your okay, fine. I just need to see that there's somewhere else that if AmeriCorps were to catch in on some like fiery web ball of fire, you know, and just fritz out completely, we would have another way to show that we've been meeting our obligations.
So we have to meet with our AmeriCorps person, how often?
You
Once a month?
You should meet at least once a week. You should have a touch base of at least once a week. And then, like I said, any other interaction that you have with them can count too. But in your member service plan, you're going to set up a weekly touch base. And that doesn't have to be an hour-long meeting. That's just, you know, are you good for your hours this week? Do you know what you're teaching after power hour? Are you up to date? I mean, you have the list now of all the things they're required to turn in. Are you entering your time in AmeriCorps? Do you have your parent permission forms? Have you done all your pre-tests? Like, you know, just use your checklist that I've given you, and, you know, you're touching base with them. You're keeping them on track. You're checking in. Maybe, you know, we've all got that one kid, and it's different for everybody, because just like adults' personalities mesh or they don't, you know, there's a kid in the club that is just going to drive them insane, you know.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those.
And if you've only got a couple, you don't have anywhere near enough.
Well, we only have like 32 kids, so.
and checking in with, you know, if little Joey is driving them absolutely crazy, you know, you're the one who's saying, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you, you know, stopping in and checking in on, if they're, you know, checking in on them. If their power hour's out of control, you can guess how much homework's being done. So, you know, you're the one who steps in and says, hey, let me help you, let me mentor you. You know, there might be times that you need to step in and you just, I mean, I've had to do this with staff where I'm like, I will mentor you later. Right now, I'm going to fix this safety issue. You know, and Miss Megan says everybody needs to give 5 and sit down crisscross applesauce, and like staff, I will deal with you in a moment. But, you know, you're the person who does that. You're the person who says, you know, I hear you getting on to Susie, Sarah, and Micah for talking all the time during power hour. I hear you getting on to them every day when I walk by. What can we do to lower the stress for you and make this time more productive for them? You know, and it could be you separate them. It could be that maybe they are putting out all the supplies they need for their activities on the table first thing, and they just need to keep those back and dole them out as the activity goes because the kids get too distracted. Some of your members are not going to know things like that. So that's where you're, you know, you have a planned time that you're going to talk to them about paperwork, but then you're just checking in on them. You're that support system of, let me help you, you know, kind of catching them on the sides and keeping them down the path of the straight and narrow. Excellent question. Other questions?
I had a question about the timesheets.
Uh-huh.
For my college students,
Mm-hmm.
they get paid for 20 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I sit down and average it out. They're going to have to work 23 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
to be able to meet their 675.
Okay. That's fine.
How would I document their timesheets? Because I can't just use their college timesheet as my hard copy. Because it's not going to be enough hours.
That's fine. I mean, I could send you something, or even if, like I said, if you just wanted to make a timesheet that they sign every day that like lives in your office, like they walk in and
So
they
that's
write.
sufficient enough.
Yeah, because they're going to sign, if they sign the bottom of it and you sign the bottom of it, I don't care if it's a time card, I don't care if it's an Excel sheet, I don't, you know, don't write it on a napkin. I actually had an employee turn time into me on a napkin once, and I was like, no, this is just not quite
It'll have to be a separate timesheet because they're going to have to, like I said, they have a college timesheet that they fill out on the computer every day.
And if it's
But it's
just
not
an
gonna be enough.
extra day that they do that 3 hours, you know, you can write something and attach it to that. That's
Okay.
fine, because they can serve more hours than that.
Right.
But they're just getting paid for that. But they're getting paid in the end with that education award for
Right,
those
right.
for those 3 hours. But yeah, that's a great question. Other questions? Not everybody all at once. Contain yourselves. Adam, any questions?
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Not leave. Ready to do
It was like,
your hair.
fine. I thought we were Fred. Okay. We didn't have anything in the parking lot. And we're through questions. So I have surprises for you. You got your pins. I didn't want you guys to feel like the members were the only people we were swagging out. But for this year, to say thank you for being awesome AmeriCorps site supervisors, because it wouldn't happen without you, I have computer bags. So you can tote your binder and all your other paperwork that I give you. So thank you so much for coming today. I'm gonna stop this while I'm over here. Maybe I will.